You know, when we think about the epic stories of history, we picture these huge figures, right? Prophets, warriors, kings. But what if I told you that in the story of early Islam, one of the most important people was a complete ghost? A man who operated entirely in the shadows. His work literally decided battles. It paved the way for an entire empire. But for years, nobody, not even his closest allies, really knew what he was doing.
So, who was this secret agent right in the heart of Mecca? That's the question, right? That's the mystery we're going to unpack today. We're about to dive into the story of Islam's very first spy, a man whose loyalty was so deep, so hidden, that from the outside, it looked exactly like betrayal.
All right, so to really get who our spy is, you've got to understand his family first. It's kind of complicated. The Prophet Muhammad had all these uncles, right? And they were all so different from each other. Seriously, their choices, their loyalties, it's like a microcosm of the entire conflict, all within one family. Okay, so first up, you've got Abu Lahab. And this guy wasn't just some opponent. No, this was family who became the most vicious, cruel enemy you can imagine. He was actively trying to hurt the Prophet every chance he got. He's basically ground zero for total opposition coming from inside his own clan. Then, on the complete opposite end, you have Abu Talib. He was the head of the clan, and he was the Prophet's shield. I mean, a literal human shield. Now, what's fascinating is that he never actually converted, but he gave his nephew this unwavering public protection. He stood up to all the powerful people in Mecca to keep him safe. He was the guardian everyone could see. And then there was Hamza. Oh man, Hamza was a legend, a famous, powerful warrior. And his conversion, that was a huge game changer. It wasn't just about adding one more believer, it was about bringing serious muscle and courage to this small, struggling group of Muslims. And that brings us to the last uncle we need to talk about, Abbas. Now, Abbas was smart, wealthy, a big-shot businessman. But publicly, he was neutral. He just stayed in Mecca, didn't really seem to pick a side, but behind the scenes, he was quietly helping out. He was the real puzzle of the family. And this right here, this is the heart of the whole story. You've got two kinds of support. On one side, Abu Talib, loud, public, a political shield for everyone to see. And on the other side, you've got Abbas, quiet, strategic, totally secret. Getting this difference is the key to unlocking everything else. So things take a turn. After Abu Talib died, that public protection was gone, and life in Mecca became just unbearable. The Prophet had to find a new home for his community. This led to this super secret meeting in the middle of the night with some people from a city called Medina. This was the meeting that would set up the Great Migration, the Hijra. So guess who shows up at this top secret meeting for believers planning their escape? Abbas. Yeah, the neutral uncle. And he wasn't just hanging out in the back. He was front and center, acting as the Prophet's main negotiator. He was seriously grilling these guys from Medina, making sure they knew exactly what they were signing up for. He was testing them to see if they were truly ready to protect his nephew. Okay, so the Muslims make it to Medina. But of course, the trouble follows them. And at the very first big battle, the Battle of Badr, the story of Abbas gets really weird and very, very confusing. Just before the fighting starts, the Prophet gives this command that must have sounded insane to his soldiers. He tells them, hey, see those guys from my family, the Banu Hashim, fighting in the enemy army? Don't hurt them. I mean, can you imagine that? You're a soldier, you're about to fight for your life, and your commander tells you to go easy on certain guys on the other team? So why? Why would you protect people who are literally there to kill you? It makes no sense, right? The soldiers were probably thinking the same thing. Well, the answer to that completely illogical question, it all comes back to our guy, Abbas. And this is where the puzzle of Abbas gets even crazier. Just look at the facts. He fights for Mecca, against the Muslims. Then he gets captured by the Muslim army. While he's a prisoner, he claims he's secretly a Muslim. Okay, but then the Prophet makes him pay this huge ransom to be set free, not just for himself, but for other guys too. Nothing about this adds up. But here's the thing. All those contradictions, that wasn't just random confusion. It was all part of a plan, a master plan. The truth behind the whole mystery of Abbas was way more strategic than anyone could have guessed. It's this simple. Abbas was the spy. He was the Prophet's secret agent inside Mecca the whole time. His so-called neutrality, him fighting in the Meccan army, even getting captured, it was all an act, an incredibly elaborate cover to make him the perfect set of eyes and ears for the Muslims, right in the heart of enemy territory. So what was his mission exactly? Well, it had 4 parts. 1, stay in Mecca. 2, gather intel on everything, their plans, their armies, their politics. 3, send all that secret info back to Medina. And 4, and this is the most important part, maintain his cover no matter what. That's why he had to pay that massive ransom. It was the perfect proof for everyone back in Mecca that he was still on their side, just another enemy of the Muslims who had to pay up to get free. And boy, did it pay off. After Badr cemented his cover, his intelligence became one of the Muslims' most powerful weapons. In the next big battles, Oud and the Trench, it was his secret messages that gave them critical warnings about enemy numbers and strategies. This intel was a constant advantage, and it all led up to the final conquest of Mecca, a victory that was almost completely bloodless. And why? Because they knew exactly what was happening, thanks to the man on the inside. So, once Mecca was won, his job as a spy was done. The cover could be dropped. He could finally be a Muslim out in the open. But his story isn't over, not by a long shot. Because soon after, in the middle of a chaotic battle, he was about to be called on for a totally new and very, very public role. Okay, picture this. The Battle of Hunain. The Muslim army is huge now, but they walk right into a perfect ambush. Suddenly, a storm of arrows starts raining down on them from the hills. It's pure chaos, mass panic. The battle lines just break. The whole army turns and starts running away. It was about to be a complete and utter disaster. While everyone is scattering, the Prophet and just a handful of his companions are holding their ground, and he turns to one man, a man famous for having an incredibly powerful voice. He turns to Abbas. He tells him, "Call them back." And Abbas just lets out this thunderous shout that cuts through all the noise and panic. It was so powerful that it rallied the soldiers. They literally turned their horses around and charged back into the fight, snatching victory from the jaws of certain defeat. So you have Abbas, the man of quiet service, and one incredibly loud battle-winning moment. But you know what? His biggest legacy wasn't going to be on a battlefield. It was going to stretch across centuries of world history. Get this. About a century after he died, his own descendants rose to power and started a new empire. And what did they call it? The Abbasid Caliphate, named right after him. These were the people who built the legendary city of Baghdad. They were the ones who kicked off that incredible era of science, art, and philosophy we now call the Islamic Golden Age. For more than 500 years, the empire that carried his name was a beacon of power and knowledge for the whole world. Think about that. From a secret agent working in the shadows of one city, his legacy became an empire that lit up the globe. And that just leaves you with one final thought, right? The story of Abbas was almost just a footnote, a secret tucked away inside a much bigger story. It really makes you wonder, how many other people like him are out there? How many other spies and quiet helpers and secret strategists have been the invisible hands shaping the world we live in today?